Welcome back to the Gospel Over Gimmicks Podcast. Long time no see. Today, before we get started on somewhat regular episodes, let's get you all caught up on things and offer up a little encouragement. We could all use some of that these days. I guarantee it. Let's get after it. Hello and welcome to my podcast. I am your host, Richard Stormy Norman, here to tell you everything I know and some things I highly suspect. This is the first episode I have recorded since May, if you can believe that, and you probably can, because that was a while ago. Life has been crazy since then. We'll touch on that in a moment. Status of the podcast going forward is I'm going to try and post an episode twice a month. Dip my toe in every other week for some of y'all. But as we'll talk about later, there are some major things going on in my life right now. So I reserve the right to sit one out if I need to. And don't worry, this episode isn't me blabbing on about my life. We're going to talk about things, but we're going to also get into some Bible truth later. Offer you up something encouraging before you dive into Bible study next week. Or not next week, but 2 weeks from whenever you see this. A little rusty, okay? A little rusty. Before that, though, how are you doing? Are you longing for a Florida weather update? I know you must be. You must be. You know, my computer used to give me the weather at the bottom of the screen, but now it don't. Wonder where that went. Is that it right there? Nope. I don't know what happened there. That was a nice feature they gave me and took away. But it's September in Florida, and what is today? 20th? So it's like tomorrow's like the first day of fall, or the day after that. So it's still hot. It was raining like last 3 weeks or so, like every day in the afternoon raining, but it hasn't done that for a few days, so that's good. That's a good thing. But we've probably another month or two off before we see any real cool weather moving in down here. New-ish Bible. I've had it for a month and a half, 2 months now. I got the Cambridge KJV Topaz. I got the split calf because I was kind of being cheap. Partly because I was being cheap and partly because I ain't never had the calf split before, so I wanted to try it out. It's okay, but I kind of wish, like, I didn't think I would like it, but I love it. I love this Bible. And kind of wish I'd have got it in goatskin now. But, you know, we'll figure that out. We'll get one in goatskin. I've actually put one of my Bibles up for trade in a group trying to get a goatskin topaz. But this is a great Bible. I love it. And we're going to use it today. New truck. Got a new truck, kind of. Not as new as the one I had, but it's new to me, and it was a pain in the butt to get the thing. We'll save some of that for later, but it's a 2002 F-150. Nice. It's got air conditioner. I've been driving the Ranger, for a while, and it don't have air conditioning. This one does, so always nice to have AC in Florida. I graduated Bible college, Asheville Baptist Institute. Graduated with my bachelor's in theology back in end of July, I want to say it was. I can't remember exactly, but I want to say end of July. I'm still waiting on my degree to come. When it comes, I'll hang it up here so y'all can see it. See how smart and theological I am. All that good stuff. But don't forget, I know we haven't done much on the podcast, this year. One of the last things I did was make a video introducing y'all to the new Gospel Over Gimmicks store at Spreadshirt. So all kinds of stuff on there. You can go back and watch that video if you want to. It goes a little more in detail. But all kinds of stuff, hats, shirts, hoodies, water bottles, like all kinds of stuff. Anything I could slap. Well, not anything. There's a lot of things. There's kids' clothes on there, women's clothes, baby clothes, all kinds of stuff. I got the hat here. I got 3 different hats. I got this snapback. I got a regular ball cap, and I got a trucker hat with the logo on them. Not all of them are on the side. I think just the snapback has it on the side here. And then a bunch of other stuff. A lot of cool. It's not, this is the shirt, kind of like what we had. Now you can get a shirt like what we had that was just the logo up here on the front, but this one is the one that's got the logo on the front, and then you turn it around and it says "Take up your cross and carry on" on the back. So that's one of the shirts I got available, along with some others that got Bible verses and preacher quotes on them, stuff like that. So we'll have a link to that in the description if y'all want to go check out the new store and see what's on there. I had a special edition 4th of July shirt that I forgot to take down, so that might be still up there. But yeah, if you want to help us out, go and shop at the new store. Without further ado, let's get into things and stuff before we get started. So here is a fun fact for you. This episode you're watching right now, I already recorded it over a month ago, but I didn't ever post it. And it's kind of complicated as to why, but we'll get into it in a minute. Now, a lot of this that I'm going to talk about is very personal, so I'm going to tone it down, kind of. I'm not going to give too many details, but I wanted to share it for 2 reasons. Is one, I've always tried to be an open book with you guys. I've not really ever tried to hide nothing. These 6-7 years we've been doing this. And 2, I could really use some more people praying for me. I could really appreciate some more people in my corner praying for me. So back on June 17th, my wife got in a car accident and totaled my orange truck. So now I'm not going to get into it. She was banged up, fractured collarbone, and all kinds of other things. But she was okay. She's fine. She's good. Now you know why I have a new truck. But 4 days after that, me and her separated. Didn't have nothing to do with the truck. It wasn't because she totaled my truck. Also, before anyone gets to thinking otherwise, there was no infidelity or abuse, or not physical abuse anyway, going on. So what? None of that. Long story short, I had too much going on. Y'all know what I've been doing. Going to school, teaching a Sunday school class, doing this podcast for however long I've been doing it. And I neglected my wife. And I neglected to love her like Christ loved the church, unfortunately. I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right. It's been 3 months now. We've been separated. And I wish I could tell you that things were looking up, but it's kind of not. I mean, it's not, terrible, but it ain't heading in the direction I'd like it to go. But I don't want to dwell on the negative today. We're trying to be encouraging. So, I know I messed up as a husband. What am I going to do about it? Well, after I got done doing all the wrong things, I started doing some research, like I always do, like is my habit to do. Start doing research and looking at YouTube videos and podcasts, reading some books and articles and all this stuff. And I ended up joining a men's marriage program. Joined that about a month ago, and that's been a big help so far. So that's been good. Been working on myself, trying to make some changes. But most of all, my prayer life. I've done podcasts in the past where I talked about prayer was a thing that I'd struggle to make a habit. It's one of them things. Everybody's got their area of strength and weakness, I guess you could say. And prayer's always been my area of weakness. Not that I don't like to pray or don't know how to pray or anything like that. It's just I never made it a habit. Of course, that's not the case now. Now I pray 2 or 3 times a day. Like I said, this is all personal stuff, so I don't want talk about too much, but I do want to share the struggles and victories that I've had spiritually over the past 3 months. First off, I realized that you can think, this was the thing I told my pastor when he was asking me about it at church, not long afterward. And I realized you can think that you're close to God, like, man, I'm really close to God right now. And then he can show you that you aren't as close as you think you are, which is what he did, during this situation. Showed me, hey, you ain't really as close to me as you think you might be. And it's hard to argue with the evidence provided. Sure, I read and I studied my Bible a lot. I had to in order to finish Bible college, teach Sunday school, do this podcast. I had to study my Bible. I had to be in my Bible pretty often. But was I really reading it to grow closer to him, or was I just reading it so that I could do those things? The marriage group I'm a part of, it's for men. So there's a bunch of men in there, and it's at the core, the goal is to deal with your insecurities, because your insecurities come out as negative behaviors. And one of the ones, I've not identified all mine yet, but one of the ones I've identified is my fear of looking stupid. When I was a kid, I was always the kid with not always failing grades, but they weren't great grades. Like a D or C was okay with me. And then junior high, they put me in dropout prevention classes. And then in high school, I was in dropout prevention classes for a little bit. And I was just the dumb kid, And I don't think it was because I was really dumb. It was just because I was lazy. And that just continued. I had this fear of people thinking I'm stupid. And I can, look back at my life at some things. And they say in a group here that I'm in, that whenever you have an insecurity, you overcompensate for it. So if you have a fear of looking stupid, you'll try to be as smart as you can. So that's like, I've told some people this already. They're like, yeah, it's dumb. You're one of the smartest people I know. I was like, that's the point. The reason I'm one of the smartest, not trying to toot my own horn, just saying, the reason why people look at me like, oh man, that dude's smart, is because I'm trying to compensate for that fear of looking stupid. And that's one of the insecurities I've discovered, that I spend a lot of time learning, trying to know things and do, teach like I do, because I'm scared people are going to think I'm stupid. And I spent too much time worrying about what people thought about me being stupid or smart or whatever, instead of doing the things that my wife was always wanting me to do with her, that I should have been doing, that I, trust me, want to do now. But, so that's one thing. I'll admit over the last 3 months, it has been a struggle to get in the Word. I've had to force myself to read it on a few occasions. It's like I can feel the devil trying to use this situation to pull me away from God. Like, you got to stay aware of that kind of thing. Like, that dawned on me a while back. Is like, the devil is trying to use this to distance me from God, when God is what I need the most right now. Another thing you got to do is get out of God's way. Let's go to Mark chapter 9. Mark 9:24 says, "And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief." I was reading that verse one night, and it got me thinking, like, I can't say that I trust God to work in my situation, because, when I pray, I'm like, God, I know you're doing something here, and I know you're going to work all this out for my good, and hopefully your will is to bring me and my wife back together. But I can't say that and then try to constantly do stuff on my own to get it done, and none of that stuff works anyway. But so I can't tell God I have faith that he's going to do something and then try to do it all myself. I got to step back and let him control the situation. I understand that God doesn't expect us to pray for a hole and then lean against a shovel and wait for it to come. But, you got to let him handle the things that you can't handle. Another thing is, you can't make your situation an idol. When my first marriage ended back in my early 20s, I was angry at God. Maybe I've shared this story on here before. I don't know. I was mad at God for taking that away from me. I stopped going to church. I blamed him for taking that away from me. And for a couple years, that went on. And you can't do that. You can't, like, as much as I love my wife and I want to be back with her, like, I can't make that an idol in my life. I can't let that come between me and God. You know what I'm saying? Daniel chapter 3, y'all know this one. We're going to go there anyway. Daniel chapter 3, 16 through 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said unto the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. No matter how much you love something, you cannot let it be above God in your life, no matter what it costs. You just can't let it happen. Sometimes, he might take something out of your life if it's becoming too much of an idol. Or sometimes he might send a storm like the one I'm in right now to get my attention over some things. But there have been victories. This marriage program I joined and talked about has been helping me make some much needed changes in my life and helping me to change my focus and my mindset. That's an important thing. It's your mindset. And on top of that, God has come through for me several times during this last 3 months when I was discouraged. He would grant me some peace, and, I would get down. I'd be so broken, get down on the floor just crying and be like, God, please do something for me. And he would. And he would send me some comfort, and it was good. And he's given me some good friends to talk to, send someone my way to encourage me. I'd be, like I said, I'd be sitting there just broken in the floor, and phone would ring and be a huge help. Philippians 4:11 Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. The storms God sends our way are not meant to be pleasant. Obviously, they're called storms. They are meant to teach us, and we don't get to decide how long they last. He does. I read a statistic I heard a statistic somewhere that most separations in marriage last 8 to 12 months. And I'm in month 3. Now, I don't know what my situation is going to do, but man, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. And I obviously pray it don't take that long, but like I told God, however long it takes, this is on your time. It ain't on my time. I don't get to decide. One thing I'm sure of is that God put me and my wife together. I'm 100% sure God put me and my wife together. She's my best friend. And He is the only one that is going to put us back together. But if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong, and that is not His will, then He is still worthy of all my praise. He's already done so much for me and continues to do so. He ain't never let me down yet. And story about my first marriage when it ended, and I told y'all I didn't go to church for probably 2 years afterward. Well, I remember I went to church at least one time right afterward. And maybe it was, I don't know how long it was, but I walked into the church, and when you're in that situation, you're like, oh, everybody's talking about me, this and that. You either think that or you think, oh, nobody cares. Because that's also what it feels like. Nobody cares. And my pastor came up to me, and our church that I grew up in was bigger than the one I go to now. So it was all handshaking time at the beginning of the service, and he walked all the way up to where I was sitting and give me a hug and say, anything you need, you just let me know. So I never forgot that. I felt like that was God like saying, hey, I got you. I got you. So as hard as it is, I'm going to trust God to fix what I broke and give me another chance to be who I need to be. I'm also going to trust that whatever He decides to do is what's best for me. Obviously, He knows what's best for me. And this whole thing might not end the way I want it to end, but whatever way it ends, it's going to be what's best for me. Like I said, I love my wife. I'm going to do everything I can to be the husband that she needs me to be. But ultimately, that's God's decision. What happens here. So I'd appreciate it if y'all would pray for my situation. And I hope this episode was encouraging to somebody. Because, this world we live in today kind of stinks. We need some encouragement sometime. So hopefully I could, one of the things that'll encourage you is when someone is going through a situation, yet they can still try and be a blessing to you. So that's what I want to do for y'all. Try to be a blessing for you. It's been 3 months. I'm a lot different person now than I was 3 months ago. And I've come a long way. I still got a long way to go. A lot of things I'm working on as far as changes in my life, changes that need to be made regardless of the situation I'm in. So working on that, and I'm trying to get back in Word on a more regular basis. And I resigned my Sunday school class and graduated Bible college and stuff like that. So I ain't had nothing to do for the last 3 months except work on me. Do things I need to do and implement some techniques I've learned from the marriage program. Like thinking about joining the gym. I ain't been to a gym almost 20 years. Last time I was in my mid-20s. Last time I had a gym membership. So, as you can probably tell, I've lost some weight in the last 3 months. So, be a good time to go to the gym. Get some of that back. Because I ain't got her here to cook all that food that made me fat. So, I might as well go to the gym and work out. But, like I said, I hope this was an encouraging episode to me. It's not a woe is me kind of thing. Like, it happened. I messed up. I didn't do what I should have done. And now I'm in this situation. And I'm going to try and correct it. But it's all I can do. I can't make decisions for nobody. And God's going to do what he thinks is best. So I appreciate you watching and listening for y'all that are listening. With that being said, in 2 weeks, we will be back to wrap up our study of Galatians with chapter 6. Closing chapter of Galatians, kind of short. Not sure how much depth there's going to be in there. Be there or be square. Okay. Don't forget, you can visit the website. It still exists. It's still there, I'm assuming. Oh, wait, I didn't go to it the other day, so yeah, it's still there. You can go there. You can watch or listen to the latest episode. Find all our social media links on there, along with ways you can help support the podcast. I need to get back in the habit of posting on. Maybe I'll do that next week. Post the upcoming episodes spoiler thing that I used to do on our Instagram. And you can also find ways to support the podcast there. PayPal, Patreon. All that is on there. You can also pick up some sweet t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats. I wish I had like a list of, like, there's all kind of mess on there. Water bottles, stuff like, I already said that, but there's like, and I ain't even scratched the surface of what they offer. I'm not looking at some of this stuff like, why would I offer that? But you never know, I might someday. But you can go over there to the store, the Gospel Over Gimmicks store on Spreadshirt. Like I said, there'll be a link down there in the description, so you can go check it out. You got a question or an idea for a show? Because I got some ideas. I have some wrote down from like ages ago. I guess earlier this year, late last year, before we went on hiatus. But if you got an idea you'd like me to talk about, or you got a question or whatever, send it to the email address gospelovergimmicks@gmail.com. That's how you can get a hold of me. So I appreciate you guys for watching and listening. You know, seeing as I've been gone for so long. But, you know, doing all the research that I've been doing on how to deal with a separation like this, all the experts say that I need to be doing things. They said you need to go back before you got married, find those things that you used to love to do that maybe you don't do anymore, and dive into them again. You know, you got to keep your mind busy. And trust me, there's been some situations the last 3 months where my mind, I call it getting in my mind. Like, you get in there, you start thinking, maybe everybody's not overthinker like me, but you get in there and you start thinking, what if this? What if that? And then before you know it, you're making all these scenarios in your head that you have no idea if they're true or not, but you're, oh my goodness, this is what's going to happen. And you can't do that. You can't sit around like the new guys that come into the marriage program. They're like, oh, this and that. I'm like, dude, you cannot sit there and dwell on it. You will go crazy. You got to get into something that you love to do, put some effort into it to take you into. So that's why I'm here, back doing the podcast, because we've been doing this since long before I met my wife. So I'm like, I'm going to get back into doing the podcast. That'll give me something to do. Take my mind off things, get me back in the Word, back doing what I like to do, helping y'all, teaching y'all, and ticking some of y'all off. So, here we are. And I appreciate y'all coming along and helping me out. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks for the Galatians chapter 6 Bible study. Until next time, take up your cross. Carry on. Don't think I ain't going to give you Joyful Noise segment. You know we're going to do it. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to sing, and I'm like, well, I haven't done the podcast in like 6 months or whatever, however long it's been. I was like, so there ain't no song that ain't going to be new. Like, I can't be like, oh, I did this one last week. It's been a long time. So I was going to do Heaven's Bright Shore, because y'all know I love that one. But I decided we're going to do Beulah Land instead. Okay? I'm kind of homesick for a country to where I've never been before. No sad goodbyes will there be spoken, for time won't matter anymore. Beulah land, I'm longing for you, and someday on thee I'll stand. There my home shall be eternal. Beulah land, sweet Beulah land.